when you spoke. I know how incredibly frustrating it can be when you are speaking as a leader and you just blink. You freeze. You don't know what to say. Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you why leaders tend to freeze when they are speaking in hopes that you do not make these mistakes. This topic is more of an advanced level topic. And if you clicked on this video, you are absolutely supposed to be here because the content I share here on my channel is focused on those very high stakes, high pressured situations that come up as leaders. I focus specifically on helping you to be able to communicate more confidently and concisely under pressure. If you happen to be in my direct target audience as a woman in leadership, you're welcome to reach out to me for a high stakes communication assessment, which is something I'm going to be posting here on my channel very soon. If you happen to be outside of my audience, maybe you are a man in a leadership role, or perhaps you are someone that is thinking about leadership, I guarantee you are going to learn a tremendous amount of value on this channel. Feel free to subscribe to the channel if you like it, and you're welcome to watch a couple of videos on my channel as well. Now, I want to share with you specifically why this is so much of an issue and a challenge for everyone. Before I go into that, I want to say hello, Cat23. Good to see you, Cat. I hope you're doing well. Cat says, evening, ready for today's topic. I appreciate that, Cat, and glad that you're here today. And the last time we had a live, for some reason, my internet connection just stopped working. I don't know why, but Kat was there, and I appreciate Kat so much for being here. Good to see you again, also, friend. Now, why do people struggle with freezing? We talked about this a little bit before my audio went out and connection went out this week, but let's go into just a little bit more detail. One of the reasons why there's a lot of reasons why, and let me know in the comments below if you've ever felt this happen to you before. If you've ever been in a setting where you've went blank and you've frozen, what happened? What were you thinking about? Why did it occur? Let's talk about it in the comments below. But some of the common reasons why people freeze when they're speaking has a lot to do with planning. Most people are not able to, or they don't think about taking just a few moments out of their day to plan ahead before they go into a meeting, into a presentation, into a conversation, whatever the case may be. Why do we not do that? Many times we're just busy. We're very, very busy individuals. We have a lot going on. We don't know what to say. We just are rushing into meetings and etc. But if you take just a few moments to plan ahead, think about what it is specifically that you need to focus on, what you need to say or what you want to discuss, then this will be a great opportunity for you to not freeze so much when you speak. Now, there's other scenarios that come up as to when people freeze, but I want to say hello to those of you joining today. Let me know what part of the big, beautiful world you are joining from today. And have you ever frozen when you were speaking? Put it in the comments below. Let's talk about it. Now, as I mentioned, a lot of times we don't prepare. Now, you may think, well, I don't have to prepare for every single conversation that I'm going to have, do I? And I would say, yes. If you want to appear more polished and more confident as a communicator, this is something that you have to learn to do. Now, I know many people will say, well, I don't have time to prepare for every conversation, every meeting I have. Once again, if you're trying to elevate how you communicate, this is a non-negotiable. Do you have to go into detail and think about every conversation you're going to have and script everything out? Absolutely not. But you can have at least one major talking point that you want to discuss if you are newer in terms of how you're communicating. If you're more of an advanced communicator, then you could probably have at least 1 to 2 talking points that you want to discuss. Now, I want to see what Kat says in the chat. Kat says social anxiety and fear of judgment. Let's talk about that because, Kat, those are some really great reasons as to why a lot of times people are very nervous when they freeze in front of other individuals. I want to say hello to welcome. Hello, everyone. Let me know what part of the big, beautiful world you are joining from today. And have you ever frozen completely, like a statue, when you were speaking to other people? Let's talk about it in the comments below. All right, now, social anxiety. Sometimes people are just, by nature, they're nervous. And I want to say hello to Ryan FTC. Hello, Ryan. Ryan, hope you're doing well. A lot of times, Kat, people are just completely nervous. And when people are around a lot of people, it can be overwhelming. I will give you an example of this. I was at an event earlier today. It was with Broward County Public Schools Business Expo. Now, they had over 30 municipalities present at this event. It was huge. I have a video I'm going to post on it, just a very short video I recorded while I was at the event. It was very loud, it was very noisy. It was a lot of people in one condensed space. And when you are in those situations, if you happen to have some anxiety socially when you're talking to people, it can really be overwhelming. It can be overwhelming, and you may go into that setting and you think to yourself, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do here. And what happens is this is when you freeze. Why do we freeze? We freeze because it is too much that our mind is trying to process at one time. It's like, this is here, this is here, that's here, this is here, this is here, this is here. And your brain just says, whoa, time out. No. I can't do this right now. Now, is this something that can you work on this? Can you work on this and give yourself the opportunity to not freeze? I want to share with you, you can. This is what I do with my clients all the time. You can work on overcoming that overwhelmness that comes up when you're in those social settings where there's a lot of people that's there. One of the things I tell my clients to do, and I would share with you too, if you have ever experienced social anxiety and you've frozen, you didn't know what to say, you have to take a break. You have to take some time and be aware that, okay, there's a lot of information I'm processing. There's a lot of people that's here. I need a second. And that second could be you going to the restroom and just taking a break, or walking outside and looking around, something to detract your mind from what you're doing. But ultimately, if you are in a meeting, in a networking event, or something along those lines, there's a reason why you're there. And keep that reason at the very forefront of your mind, because whatever that reason is, then that is why you are there. So take a moment, break, take a breath for a second, and then go back in and try to focus on maybe one person you want to speak with, or one group of people you want to have a conversation with. And if you feel like you can talk to everybody else, great. But if you feel like you can really only handle one or two people, or one or two individuals or organizations to speak with, so that you're not too anxious socially, that's okay. Do what's comfortable for you. In terms of fear of judgment, a lot of times people experience that too, Kat, and I appreciate you bringing that up, because fear of judgment is real. And many people struggle with fear of judgment because we, as individuals, sometimes we are maybe raised or been trained to please people all the time. Now, I want to share with you, you don't want to please people all the time. You can't please people all the time. You just can't do it. But sometimes that judgment comes into place because we feel like we're supposed to please people. What if I say something wrong? What if I say it incorrectly? What if I fumble? What if I stumble? What if I stutter? A lot of times people have that fear of judgment, that people are going to think differently of them. But I want to have you think about something. One of the things that causes that fear of judgment is confidence. Typically, there is some lack of confidence somewhere in you that you have to work on. So in the event that you're communicating with other people and that fear of judgment comes into play, I want you, and this is what I do with my clients. If you want to work with me, contact me on any platform. But if you imagine you going into a conversation where social anxiety is gone, the fear of judgment is gone, you are very confident. How would that change your life? Would you be more sociable? Would you be advancing your career? Think of it that way. Because once you're able to get a couple of those challenges out of the way, it actually can help you to move forward. Fear of judgment is a big one, but a lot of it comes down to there's something that you feel maybe not as confident about. You may be in a room with some very high performers, and you may think, oh, I'm not good enough. Or imposter syndrome will kick in. That's why we have to work together. There's only but so much I can do communicating with you via YouTube, that situation comes up oftentimes where you need one-on-one, someone actually working with you to dive into why. Now, Ryan said let's see, social anxiety must be a millennial and Gen Z thing. Laugh out loud. Well, not necessarily. This is for everybody. I believe that this happens to so many individuals. A lot more people are dealing with it than what I would say people are willing to admit. And oftentimes people don't even know how to articulate that. And this is why it becomes so much of a barrier, because people don't know exactly what's going on. They're just going to a meeting and they just say, oh, I just feel so nervous. But why do you feel nervous? What is it specifically? So I do, Ryan, I would say it is not necessarily a millennial or Gen Z thing. I do believe this is just people in general. Cat 2030 says dominant personalities in the room can trigger withdrawal. Yes, it can. And that's a really great point that you mentioned, Kat, because when you are in rooms with high performers, as I mentioned earlier, or people that have those very big personalities, you can feel like you want to withdraw, but let's go deeper. From an executive coaching standpoint, why? Thank you for the heart emojis, friends. Why do you feel like you have to withdraw? Why? If you were at your most confident self, would you still do that? Probably not. That's why we work together, to get you to that most confident self. But you can do this. You can truly, and what I'm sharing with you is not something that I'm making up, that is like a mystical unicorn and no one believes it. You can truly be at that highest level of confidence in someone's life, as high as you can be. We're always going to be growing our confidence, but you can really be that person that is so confident that you are not dominated by any personalities in the room. You can. It's just a matter of getting some support, working with an executive coach like myself to help you there. But it triggers it a lot, right? It does trigger it because you feel like, oh my gosh, all these people are doing so many things. I'm not doing this, or I don't have that. I'm just going to freeze. And you just completely lose your train of thought. It's as I mentioned at the beginning, it's too much information coming in at the same time. You're seeing all these people, and then you're thinking, oh my gosh, this person is doing this, they're doing that. These are big personalities, these are speakers, etc. And you just freeze. And this is the reason why you subscribe to the channel, because I'm going to help you start developing those skills to where you don't feel as nervous or feel like you need to freeze. And with anyone, even if they have a big personality or a big role, guess what? You are just as confident. And the one thing I share with my clients, I'll share with y'all too. Everybody, I mean every single person, is unique in their own special way. There are gifts that Ryan has that Kat doesn't have. There are gifts that Kat has that Ryan does not have. We all have something that makes us unique, and our experiences play a lot into that. The next time you go into a meeting or a conversation and you're worried or you start to feel like you're going to freeze, remember, plan ahead. Start thinking about what you want to say specifically in advance and have just 1 or 2 talking points. That's it. But then remember, you are unique. You are very unique. You're very gifted. You're very talented. And if you feel like you're not, I'm telling you that you are. You have something to offer to the world. Cat 2030 says cognitive patterns, catastrophizing, assuming worst case scenarios. That's a factor too, Kat. I appreciate that. And Robert, hello, Robert. Hope you're doing well today. And that's a process too. Because believe it or not, when this situation happens, people assume the worst. They think, oh, this person doesn't believe me, or this person's not going to like what I have to say. We almost think in advance and plan out the worst case scenario that is bad. And this is something that I don't want you all to do. Everything is not going to be bad. Be optimistic, be confident, be just ready. And if you struggle with confidence and you happen to be in my audience as a woman in leadership, contact me. I will help you to reach new levels of confidence you have never had, because this is what I do every day. Okay, Robert says, hi. Okay, I said, hello, Robert. Good to see you, friend. How you doing, Robert? Robert says, hi, Robert here. Where are your specs? Robert, I left my glasses at a location and I'm having to wear my contacts. I do not have my glasses. I will have them tomorrow, but thank you for being so observant and noticing I do not have my glasses today. We have, I'm going to say Mike, right? I believe Mike to where? 1875. Hello, Mike. Hope you're doing well today. Welcome, welcome. Mike says you speak really well. Bless you from New Zealand. Well, thank you so much. I heard New Zealand is a wonderful place, so let me know. But I appreciate you, Mike, from being here. And this is what I do on my channel. I'm here to help you learn how to communicate in a more confident and concise way under pressure. And Mike, I've been a public speaker for 20 years. I've been a C-suite executive and a director here based out of the United States for the past 20 years. I've been in those very friendly and very contentious situations, and I've had to learn how to speak in a way that makes sense. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. All right, so Robert says, okay, Robert says, Rebecca and Tina are best friends. They work on the same team. As a coach, I have noticed Rebecca is helping a lot for Tina in the work. She is doing her work also, doing Tina's work to help and save her. Okay, Tina is just escaping with Rebecca's work. Rebecca is helping a lot since Tina is her friend. Now my question is, okay, great scenario. Do I report to leader regarding their things? To give you well, first, Robert, appreciate you bringing that up because this is a really good question. I would say this happens, believe it or not, a lot more than you think. And the fact that Robert brought it up, Robert deals with a lot of things as it relates to personnel. One more thing, Robert says, okay, do I report to leader regarding their things or leave as it is since their work is completed by end of day? There's a couple ways you can approach this, Robert, and I've had this situation happen before. I guess one of the questions I have for you, Robert, do you feel as if Rebecca's helping Tina. Do you feel like she's at the level where she needs to be? I say this because I've seen a couple dynamics, Robert. Let me scroll up so I can make sure I don't miss out on the comments. But the couple things I've noticed, Robert, when these situations happen is that there may be something that Tina is not really, let's see. Hold on, one more thing. I just want to make sure I got everything right, Robert. Rebecca is helping Tina in the work. Okay. So Tina, one of the things I would say, Tina, there may be this buddy system. Tina may not be where she needs to be as an individual. And it's somewhat obvious at this point because Rebecca is helping Tina out quite a bit. Now, what happens? They may be friends and they may get along, but at some point in time, the workload is going to shift. And Rebecca is going to do a lot more work for Tina that Tina really needs to be doing. Rebecca's going to start not doing what she needs to do because she's basically doing the job of two people. When you have situations like that, it's one of those situations you want to let your leader know about it. Does your leader want to do anything about it? Maybe, maybe not. But I would say have a conversation and say, I've observed that Tina is having maybe struggling with this. I just want to let you know, give me a little bit of time to address it and I'll come back with you with a report. Why do I say that? Because since you mentioned there's a leader that you may need to let know about it, I would give them a heads up that is something that you're going to work on if you're going to be working on it. Give you a little bit of time because every situation or every conversation doesn't mean it has to have like an immediate reaction. We got to talk to this person now. We got to do this now and etc. This scenario, I would just let the leader know because these conversations that you have are what builds trust and what builds a relationship with the person you're working with to let them know, I know something's going on. Give me a little time to figure it out. Okay, so I would definitely give the leader a heads up. Now, in terms of Tina and Rebecca, you know something's going on. And what I would do is I would find out from both of them what do they need help with? I would focus a little bit more on Tina and say, what are some things that you may need some support in? And see if Tina talks. Tina may not say anything. She may just be completely happy that Rebecca's doing all her work, which we know we don't want that. But if Tina says, oh, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with that, give her some training and talk to her about it. If you notice that Tina says, oh, I'm doing great, then you know there's a problem and you're going to have to go in a little bit more. I would really dive in a bit, and I would talk to Rebecca too to see what is Tina struggling with, because you have to know what's going on. And as a leader, there's subtle ways you can find out information. You could do this. You could observe and say, guess what, everyone, we're going to have a day. I'm just going to make sure the process and the flow is going well. Continue as you're doing. I just want to make sure everybody's where they need to be. And if there's some additional support I need to give you, I want to provide it. And you could just very casually observe. Or you may just enter in and say, oh, okay. Oh, Tina, I thought you was going to be working on this. And Tina may say, oh, I am. Or she may say, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. So you have to go about it in a very, very, very strategic way to find that information out. You need to find out what exactly is going on specifically and have the conversation with your leader, figure out what's going on. I wouldn't make a huge deal out of it because you're in the very early stages of getting more concrete information. That's what you need. You need data. You need to either see it with your eyes where you're documenting it and saying, okay, I noticed Tina's not doing this, Rebecca's doing this. I know the work is getting done, but Tina, I need you to be where you need to be, because if Tina is where she needs to be, the team will grow, the workload will be equally distributed, and etc. Okay, so Cat 2030 says, personality and temperament, high sensitivity, more aware of subtle social cues, both positive and negative. That can absolutely cause people to freeze also. And hypersensitivity it can be definitely a challenge for people if they are really hypersensitive. They think everything is, somebody makes a gesture specifically and says one word and they think, oh my gosh, they're upset with me, or they think something different. That can cause people to freeze too. How do we get over situations like that? A lot of it is just being aware that this is a problem for you. And this is where working with an executive coach will help you, because sometimes people really do struggle in these situations and they never understand why. My question would be for anyone that was dealing with hypersensitivity or very high sensitivity in conversations, why is that? Why are you struggling with it? What's happened to make this occur? What do you feel like you can do to get over it, to help you move forward? That's what we do in an executive coaching session. It really is intended to help you to dive deeper and to move forward a lot faster. Many times people stay stuck in the same roles or in the same situations over their lives and just go in a hamster wheel because they never take the time to say, wait, I need to stop for a second. My legs are tired. And think, why am I doing this? What am I doing? What am I struggling with? And that's what executive coaching really does. So that's a really good point that you brought up, Cap, because those cues, people that are really hypersensitive or have that temperament, they can easily freeze when those situations happen. But you have to dive a bit deeper to understand, well, why is that? Why does this make you freeze? Robert says, Tina is just lazy. Okay, well, thank you, Robert. So now you know Tina's lazy. I know Tina's lazy, so we're going to handle this a little differently then. She doesn't want to learn the new and hard things at work, so Rebecca helps her. Tina just does the easy things. Okay, now, sorry. I appreciate you, Robert, for bringing that up, because that changes things completely. You have received concrete data. So we have data that you know. Okay, Tina's lazy, then you have to prove that Tina is lazy. Meaning specifically, separate the two. If they're working together, this is the point where I would do, because I've had this situation too, I would completely separate the two and have them working on different projects. And I am going to hold Tina to the standards that I would to Rebecca and everybody else to make sure Tina's doing what she's supposed to do. If Tina is not doing what she's supposed to do, then that's when you can have that conversation with Tina. Does that make sense? If you know Tina's lazy, then at this point, Robert, it's a matter of document. Tina was given this project. Tina is not doing it. We have a new workflow in place, a new system that we're trying to develop, or whatever the case may be. Tina is not doing it. Provide Tina with options. Tina, I know you're struggling with this. What support do you need with this? Do you need additional training on it, or what's going on? Then Tina might say, no, I don't know. Maybe I need it. Give Tina what the training that she needs. Document it. Then after that, if Tina is still doing it, then you may need to have a conversation. Tina, this is a performance issue. We want to help you, but if you're not willing to do the work and work on some of the harder topics that we're dealing with, we're going to give you X amount of time to essentially get it together. I don't know. That's the best, most candid way I can say it, but you don't say that specifically, of course, Robert. But you would say, we're going to give you a bit of time for you to get to work on a few things, and we're going to circle back around with you within the next 2-3 weeks, whatever that time frame is. You have to isolate Tina, Robert, at this point. You have to isolate her, give her a project that she needs to work on, and start documenting it. And let your leader know Tina is lazy. Tina does not want to do her work. This is a plan I have. I have this task I need Tina to work on. I'm going to have Tina work on this task and see exactly how she does. If she's able to do it, fantastic. If she's not, this is the opportunity for us to have a discussion with her. It's like you have to make room for opportunities to have these conversations. You can't just say, Tina, you know what, Tina, you're lazy and you don't want to do any work. We want to say that. Many times as a leader, you want to say that, but we're leaders. We communicate differently. We find out ways to figure out, okay, you're lazy. I'm going to make sure I have my documentation that you are lazy. And I'm going to provide you with the support you need to help you be better and enhance and improve. And if you're not able to do that, then we're going to have a conversation that requires a bit more support to determine whether this is a good fit for you or not. That's how I would handle it. I've had people like that too that are just lazy. They have the buddy system, I call it, at work, where one person does all the work. The other person's covering for the other person because they're friends, etc. The problem with that is, guess what? What happens when Tina and Rebecca have a disagreement and they're mad at each other? Then Rebecca's going to stop doing Tina's work. That's going to impact the team, and then it's going to be an issue anyways. The fact that you already know it just means that you're so highly aware, Robert, and you're very in tune with your team, and I appreciate that. And they're really blessed to have you as their lead. But now it's time to isolate Tina. We have to figure Tina out, and we have to make sure we're documenting Tina. And then, of course, with your human resources team, however you all do your disciplinary actions or having the conversation in terms of, do you do verbal? Do you do written? Do you do final? Do you do verbal, and then a final? It just depends. Find out what the culture is or what the policies that you all have in place and follow that with Tina specifically. And things will clear up. I'm going to give you the scenario that's going to happen. Tina's going to get it together and she's going to step up and work and do what she needs to do. Tina is not going to get it together and you'll have to fire her. Or Tina will not like the pressure and she says, this is too hard. I don't want to do it anymore. And she'll leave. Those are your 3 scenarios, Robert, that's going to probably end up happening with Tina, based on what I just mentioned. Okay. Kat says, question, how does one who is introverted naturally thrive in an environment that requires audience interactions, crowd addressing? Personal question. Okay, great. And Robert says, okay, ma'am, got it. Thank you. Absolutely, Robert. I'm glad to help you. Now, Kat, for your question, if you are naturally introverted, that is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I always tell my clients to communicate in a way that is comfortable for you. In your case, when people are introverted, they just naturally they don't want to really talk a lot about themselves. They don't want to really share a lot of information. That's just the nature of being an introvert. But when you're in those type of settings where the audience you're required to do audience interactions and crowd addressing, this is a situation where even if you are an introvert, you have to work on it. This is something you have to work on and develop. Now, you may not necessarily, there's a lot I can go into it, and I may end up doing a video for that specifically, because actually I think I will. Let me do a screenshot real quick, because I'm going to go over it high level, but there is a lot more things that we can talk about with that. I'll just go off the top of my head. Usually, if you are introverted and you're in a situation where you have to engage with an audience specifically, you may have to limit your interactions with people based on your comfort level for that day. For example, if you know you have to address a lot of people in the audience and you have to interact with a lot of people, you may say, I'm going to try to interact with 10 people or 4 people or 5 people or whatever you feel comfortable doing as an introvert, and make that your number. It comes down to planning. Just like so many things are in life, you have to plan. And so if you know you're going into this event, you will know what type of event you're going to, because you're going there and it's a crowd and you already know you're going to be interacting. Who is it that you need to communicate with? And talk a little bit about yourself. I tell my clients this also whenever they're doing tell me about yourself or pitching themselves. I would try to focus on what specifically it is that you need to say, your one talking point in your case. If you're introverted and you're a bit shy, your one talking point is important. If you can squeeze in a second one, then great. But just talk about how you can benefit a conversation, how you can benefit a dialogue, how you can benefit an organization, how you can benefit an audience, whatever the case may be. Find out something you can do to benefit. Use those unique skills that you have, Kat, because I know you have them, and share that with your person you're interacting with. This is a great way as an introvert, how you can put yourself in a situation where you're still being social, right? You're still communicating with people. You're not communicating with the entire room, and you're still adding value to a conversation. This will help you as an introvert because it still appears as if you're communicating with other people. Now, when you get to the point and you're tired and you feel like I don't want to do this anymore, then leave. Then leave, break away, go take a break, go do something else. You have to do things that will make you comfortable. And that's the most important thing with any speaking opportunity or engagement. Do what's comfortable for you. If you're ready to challenge yourself and build up that stamina, so to speak, when you're being very introverted and trying to communicate with people and engaging with audiences, then that's why you reach out to me. We work together. But that's what I would say. Make sure that you have a plan. You know who you want to talk to, about how many people you want to reach out to, or who's the most important people you want to reach out to. And then once you have your plan, execute it. Make sure you communicate with those people. Have some talking points about yourself that make you stand out as an amazing person that I know you are. And there you go. Then as an introvert, you still have interacted with audiences. Now, the question is, are you public speaking? Are you in front of a big group and you're speaking to the group? That is a little bit different. And that's something we could talk about in another video. But the concept is still somewhat the same. If you are speaking in front of people and speaking in front of a group, that introvertedness, it can still be there, but it is something that you have to grow and develop to be a slight extrovert if you're trying to really grow and enhance yourself. You can still be introverted, but you just have to limit what you do. But you still can be someone that speaks in front of a group that likes to engage with audiences, but maybe you're at just a more calmer level of it versus someone that may just have been doing it for a long time and they can just go. They can go talk to everybody in the room and keep talking to more people. You have to do what's best for you at the end of the day. Kat says, I may not have knowledge about your workplace, but I feel like Tina will come around. Well, hopefully she does. It really, honestly, it comes down to those 3 scenarios. I'm telling you this from over 20 years of dealing with complex work situations like that. Either Tina will get it together and will improve, or Tina will struggle and say, you know what, this is too much for me, I'm going to leave. Or Tina will be fired. Like one of those 3 scenarios. I'm hopeful that Tina will do what she needs to do. Robert says Tina's lazy. Robert has a pretty good intuition on people from what I gather in our interactions. So we just have to get Tina to step up. Tina has to do more. She has to be able to support the team and help everybody else too. If not, it makes it just hard for everybody else. Now, we were talking a little bit about freezing. So we talked about situations that come up. Kat brought up some really great insights in terms of what causes people to freeze quite a bit. And definitely want to watch the replay if you're watching. or if you're joining now, because you're going to learn a lot of information in terms of what Kat said. And also, we have so many things that go into play. So not planning ahead, not thinking about what it is you want to say, or having at least, you don't have to memorize a script verbatim. I see a lot of people do. A lot of people do that. Let me tell you something. As a public speaker, reading from a script is the best way for you to not become an accomplished public speaker. When you're having a conversation or you're speaking in front of a group of people, or etc., it really needs to feel like a conversation. That is a public speaking secret that I personally say. I have not heard people say that, but that's just how I public speak to individuals. You have to make it feel like a conversation. Do you talk to people and say, hello, my name is Jan, and I'm here to learn more about your company? No, you're not reading off of a piece of paper. You're just having a conversation. That's how you can become a amazing and engaged speaker, just by having that conversation. How do you do that? You plan ahead. Therefore, when you're in those situations and you're in those big rooms and you're thinking, oh my gosh, there's so many people here, I don't know what I'm going to do. You will not freeze, because you already planned ahead and you know some things that you want to discuss. And you have your confidence built up, so when those situations occur, you know that, oh, you have this perspective, I have this perspective, I've done this, I've been involved in different organizations, etc. You have something to give to help boost up your confidence, so that you don't feel like you need to just freeze the next time someone speaks to you and you're overwhelmed in the room. Okay, Kat says, I don't know if it's low self-worth or identity, because in the past I had overthinking issues and it messed up with my speeches in room addressing the audience, would pick it up, heart-wrenching. Well, Kat, I appreciate you mentioning that, and it's okay. It's okay. You're very, very much aware of where you've been. You've shared that a couple of times on the channel. And the fact that you know this is something that has happened to you in the past helps you to literally be at a place where you can overcome this obstacle to help you move forward. Now, in terms of feeling more introverted and communicating, that sometimes introverted people, they are very confident, but they just don't like to talk about themselves that much. And that's okay. And if you feel like, I would say, actually, let me rephrase. Sometimes self-worth and identity, they play a bigger role in our lives than a lot of times people are willing to admit. There could be situations that's happened in the past, or maybe past experiences where you felt like, I really missed the mark on this. And now it kind of traumatized you to say, oh, by the way, I don't want to do this anymore because I don't like the way that it made me feel. That's normal. A lot of times successful business owners and people that's just been successful, they will say, feel the fear and do it anyways. And this is something that has helped me many times over the years when I've had those really hard situations come up. But it's just something you have to just get guidance on. And as I mentioned earlier, you are amazing. You have a lot of things to offer. Put those amazing things at the forefront of your mind. Take some time, whenever you have time, Kat, get a piece of paper, and thank you for the heart emojis. Get a piece of paper and write down, Kat is amazing because, okay? And write down all the things and reasons why you are amazing. That's going to be your confidence boosting list that you have available for you. Take some time. These are things I'm sharing with you that I do with my clients that I've worked with before, that's investing in helping themselves and developing themselves as communicators and as individuals. But just take that time and write, Kat is amazing because this, and this. And have it there. Put it on your wall or wherever else. I'll tell you one thing I actually have started doing, and I have a couple of goals that I have for myself that I'm working on for this year in my business. I have a dry erase marker that I literally write on my bathroom mirror so that I can look at my goals that I'm trying to accomplish every single day. So when I look at it, I literally, on the bottom of my bathroom mirror, it says, what are you going to do to make this happen today? This is what my goals are specifically. Now, if you're struggling with self-worth, confidence, or anything like that, this is probably one of the most powerful exercises that you can do. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you why this is powerful. This is something I do with my clients, and why this is so powerful for multiple reasons. Okay, first is that you are taking the time to get something and write it. Everybody learns differently. I'm a person, if I write it down, I remember it. And I remember it. But if you write it on your bathroom mirror, cat is amazing because cat's done this and this and that. If you put it on your bathroom mirror, you put it on a wall or wherever is good for you, you're gonna see it. It should be somewhere you visit every day. If you see it, then you know it's there, and you're basically creating your own visualization exercise that I do with my clients, because I work a bit more with neuro-linguistic programming on those really challenging situations. But you're creating a visualization that is very, very powerful. When you go out, and you've seen this enough, when you go to that next place, you're gonna say, okay, all right, I am amazing because, and you're going to, if you close your eyes, right? Close your eyes, or however you want to do it. You don't have to close your eyes. But if you remember, oh, my bathroom mirror says I'm amazing, and you remember exactly what it says, like, oh, I see it. Okay. Then you just remind yourself quickly, oh, cat is amazing because blah, blah, blah. When you go into those meetings and those conversations and you feeling not confident, that will help you to start to boost up your confidence and build that confidence muscle, so that you don't feel like, oh, I feel low about myself, or I'm not confident. I'm helping you to train yourself to be more confident. And I hope that gives you some insight. But sometimes when you're addressing audiences and speaking to them, if you're overthinking things, it can happen. But when you're speaking in front of people, it's an entirely different dynamic than when you're in one-on-one conversations. I would say don't beat yourself up too much about it. It's okay. You learned. Addressing the audience is something that it requires, I would say, not only practice, but you have to have a really good strategy. And that's why at some point, hopefully we work together so I can help you with that, because you have to have a strategy when you're engaging with audiences. It's not, a lot of people struggle with it because they just say, oh, I'm going to answer a question, but then what happens when you don't know what to do? That's what we talk about, of course, a lot on the channel, so that you're prepared. Okay, I don't know the answer. Let me kick it back so I can make sure I have a few moments to think about it, and etc. Or let me pause, let me use silence, let me use eye contact, whatever else it is that you need to do. But speaking in public, it is different. And that's something where you really have to get some more like structured guidance on it. I do plan on doing some more videos as it relates to public speaking this year. Specifically, I may do a masterclass later this year also. But just keep in mind that you can speak and communicate in front of an audience. I know that you can. If you've had a bad experience, don't let that bad experience be the one traumatizing event that's happened to make you think you don't need to do it again. You're on my channel, you're subscribed. We're going to work through it. We're going to figure something out. And when you're at the point where you need some more additional support and you're ready to get more customized, then, I'm here to help you any way that I can. But the audience will pick up on everything. They will. And that's why you just have to have a plan, a good plan to move forward. Kat says, but over the years, it got better and better compared to how it was from the beginning. Kat, that is a really great insight, and I appreciate you mentioning that, because that happens to all of us. None of us started off saying we can do things great or we can do things amazing. We all have to grow and learn, and see you've developed quite a bit, and you've been able to be successful. Every day is just more of a practice. We always are at different levels in our lives. If you look at my videos, the ones I did in the past previously, they were very different compared to the way that they are now. It happens to all of us. And I'm very happy, Kat, for you that you've been able to improve. Kat says, bathroom mirror 100 over in the heart. Well, appreciate that. That's personally what I do. I share with you all what I actually do that has been successful for me specifically. I'm here to help you. I'm not like the average executive coach or some people on YouTube where everything is like a secret. Everything is a secret. I can't tell you anything. I will share with you what's been helpful for me, whether we ever meet or we never meet. I'm here to really help you any way that I can. And if I'm reading things, or if I'm reading books that I think are helpful, or thank you for the heart emojis, friends. If I'm reading books that are helpful, or if I'm doing things personally for myself, that are benefiting me. I want to share it to my audience because I want you all to be successful too. Will I make mistakes along the way? Of course. And I'll let you know, hey, this did not work for me, or it did. But I will tell you, the bathroom exercise, I completely just, I don't know where I even got that from. I just actually did that, I would say maybe 2 weeks ago, believe it or not. It's that new. But I just said, I'm going to write this on what can I use to write on something that will not mess up the walls where I live, but I can look at it every day. And I decided to do a dry erase marker on the mirror. So it comes off very easily. It's no problem whatsoever, but that will help. Cat 23 says, does this happen in most cases? Leadership perception bias. Extroversion is often incorrectly equated with leadership potential. Cat, yes. 100% yes. 100% yes on that. Book recommendations, please. Okay, sure. So, yes, Kat, you bring up such a good point. This is the reason why people are sometimes advanced to leadership roles that they do not need to be in, for the exact reason that you mentioned. Because you're right, leadership perception leadership perception bias, extroversion is often incorrectly equated with leadership potential. I had to read that again because that's such a wonderful insight, Kat. I have seen this happen at the highest levels of organization. People do this all the time. But let's think about it. Let's think about it and dive into it. Why? Because the person that is more extroverted, that can communicate to an audience and engage an audience, is the person who gets the attention. The person who gets the attention is more visible. The person that's more visible is seen as a credible person, or someone that has some authority. The person that is seen as a credible person, that is more visible, has more of an authority with them, that has an executive presence, they're automatically seen as a leader, because most people that are not leaders, so to speak, are not doing those things. Now, even though this person or individual is highly extroverted and has all these things, can charm a crowd, very charismatic, engages the audience, is very visible, that doesn't mean they're a leader. However, the perception is that they are, by the sheer fact that they're able to speak in public. This is the reason why communicating is such a passion of mine, because of this reason. If you can communicate and be a good leader like you are, Cap, you can do anything. If people can communicate and be horrible leaders, we see that every day in the world today. They're still seen as leaders, even though they may be horrible. It just depends. But that's how this whole process works. It's this whole, I would say, think of a good word for it. I would say it's the credibility effect. You may just not be good at leadership. You're not good at managing people. You're not good at working with people. But the fact that you are outspoken and very charismatic and really extroverted, people already say, oh, she's got it or he's got it. But then when things start to happen and drama occurs, then they say, oh, wait, no, they don't have it. I thought they were a good leader. No, they're not. That's why you have to promote people or really properly vet people. Just because someone says that they're great and they communicate very well, that doesn't mean that they are the best person for the position. Just because you communicate well does not mean you're the best person to be the leader. Even though communication is a big emphasis of mine, I will tell you right now, thank you for the heart emojis, I will tell you right now that just because someone speaks well, that doesn't mean they're a good leader. It doesn't. But good leaders tend to speak well. So just keep that in mind. That's a good point. Cat 23 says, book recommendations, please. Right now, I'm working on my book collection. So there's a couple books I've read in the past. I would say probably by far one of my favorite books really is Rich Dad Poor Dad. I've read that book twice. I actually read that with my daughter and help her to try to read it. But Rich Dad Poor Dad is a really good book. So I would say if you haven't read that book, that's definitely a book you want to read. Right now, I'm currently reading Grant Cardone's book, The 10X Rule. Wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it initially, but I started reading the book, and it's actually pretty good. It's actually pretty good so far. It's engaging, it's interaction. If you've seen Grant speak, you know how he talks, you know how he communicates, and it is just like that. So it's an engaging book. He's a very engaging speaker. I mean, he's done a lot of amazing things in his career. But that's what I'm currently reading right now is the 10X rule is what I'm reading at the moment. I'll let you know how it is, but so far I would say some of the content in there is very good, especially if you're trying to grow as a business owner. And I would say, let's not even say as a business owner. Thank you for the heart emojis. I would say just as an individual. He has this whole concept of 10X and 10X and 10X. So what does that mean? As a teaser for the book, if you're trying to live an extraordinary life and a life that's extraordinary, that's amazing, that's all the things you want it to be, you basically are going to have to do 10X the amount of work that the average person would do. Now, some people will say, okay, that sounds great. And when they start doing it, they say, oh, no, that's too hard. I don't want to do that. That's the reason why it's 10X, because if you want to really have that life, you do have to do 10X the amount of work than you normally would. It's always going to be harder to do things than you initially thought it was going to be, especially in the realm of being an entrepreneur. It's always going to be much harder than what you thought it was going to be, but you have to do 10X more than everybody else. So if you are at a point in your leadership journey and you're trying to learn a lot more, you're trying to do a lot more, and etc., you have to remember you have to do a lot more, whether that's more reading, more learning, developing more skill sets. That doesn't mean you have to go out and get 50 certifications on things, but you do have to be that person that's constantly learning, that's constantly trying to develop themselves. Of course, being on the channel here will help you in terms of communicating and practicing that communicating, but it comes to a point where you do have to create that credibility effect where you're a lot more visible. Even if you're introverted, you still are at people's, I would say, top of mind when certain situations come up. So for instance, for myself and my business, I focus more on very high stakes, high pressure situation. When someone's going through something that's a challenge and they're thinking, I have an interview coming up, I don't know what to say, I'm really struggling with a couple of things, and I don't know how to say it, when to say it, where to say it, how do I manage these difficult conversations? I want to be the person that comes top of mind. Why? Because this is my expertise. How do I do that? I have to do 10X than everybody else. I have to be more engaged on my content. I have to post more. I do a lot. I will tell you that I do my lives almost 7 times a week for the most part. That is not the normal live time frame that people do. There was a YouTuber that I spoke with named Tyler Blanchard. He has, I think, 4 million followers. And I mentioned to him, I do this many lives. And he said, wow, that's a whole lot of lives. And for him to have 4 million followers, I'm thinking, if you're saying I do a lot of lives, then that must be a lot of lives. So I appreciate that. But you do have to kind of keep that in mind. If you're trying to really go to that next level, you have to do what other people are not willing to do. And a lot of that comes down to whatever your goals are. Thank you for the heart emojis. I appreciate that. But if I have some other books, I am going to be reading a lot more this year. I will definitely let you all know. Okay, so Kat says, just research. And I want to say hello, Jeremy Bullwinkle. Good to see you, Jeremy. How are you doing today, friend? All right, so Kat says, just researched, and it said, introverted leaders often outperform extroverts with proactive teams, but they face higher initial skepticism. I would say there may be some truth to that. I think there are leaders that are extroverts that do pretty well. It just depends on the person, Kat, at the end of the day. Ultimately, it depends on the individuals. Introverted leaders, the reason why I would say they can be very successful is because they may be more focused on the task instead of having the conversations. Versus your extroverted people they're more focused on building those conversations, building those relationships, and they spend a lot more time communicating than some of your introverted leaders. And I would say when you're thinking about projects and completing certain things, then you would say, okay, this person is hyper focused on what they have to do. Now, a good extrovert, and I will say for me personally, I'm an extrovert. Okay, I'm an extrovert. I've been an extrovert my whole life, but I would say for me, you have to have the balance. So you can be an extrovert, but you have to be laser focused too. There's a lot of people, like we talked about, Kat, that are very extroverted that are just too busy having conversations, talking to people, and then when it's time is ticking, and this project needs to be done, they're thinking, oh my gosh, it's due tomorrow. I completely forgot about it. There's a balance to being extroverted. You have to be very, very focused as well. Kat says, well, introversion also has its strengths in the professional scene, like deep focus, complex problem solving, expertise development. Yes, I absolutely agree with you there as well, Kat. And Jeremy says, hello, Dr. Jacinta. And I say, hello, Jeremy. Good to see you, friend. Kat says, calm presence, stability in crisis, thoughtful leadership. Absolutely. That is exactly what I focus on, and that's what I want to come top of mind to people. All right, we have Muhammad Safian, hello, 3305. Hello, Muhammad. How are you doing today? Cat 23 says, Doc, your live consistency is unmatched. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I've been doing a lot, quite a bit. And I'm really excited to where things are going. And I've been on YouTube live streaming research panel for a year now because of that. And we'll see how things go. We have, let's see, Yasin N5K9W. Okay, says hello. So I'm not an uncle. I would be an aunt. But where are you from? I'm based out of the United States in the Sunshine State of Florida. Yasin, where are you from? Thank you for the heart emojis. So for those of you joining, welcome, welcome. We just talked about a lot of really great insights. Robert had some good scenarios for us to discuss. Kat had some really great insights to share. And then Jeremy Bullwinkle came back to say hello. So I'm glad to see you, Jeremy, and have everybody here. So if you're thinking about why you might be freezing when you are at the point where you're speaking to people, you're nervous, or you're having a conversation and you freeze, the number one strategy I would share with you is you have to plan. Yes. You do need to plan for every conversation you have. You just do. Because you have to have some kind of strategy. What are we going to talk about? What are we going to talk about? What are we going to discuss? And it not only helps you to not freeze, because then you'll have in your mind what you want to say, but it also helps you to start being a high performer. High performers and individuals like that are very focused on what they're doing. And they're very cognizant of their time. And the way you do that is by planning your day. If you don't plan your day and you're just kind of letting the day go by, well, then guess what? The day will go by. But if you take time to plan ahead, then you'll have some type of structure for the day. Kat says, the goal isn't to become extroverted. It's to adapt your delivery while honoring your wiring and ideally find environments or shape cultures that value diverse working styles. Absolutely. And Kat, that's a fantastic point, friend, because as I mentioned earlier, you have to do what's comfortable for you. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. Do you need to interact with people? Do you need to engage with people? Yes, absolutely, you do. However, you do have to be able to be mindful of what you are wanting to do and what your thoughts are on things. Thank you for the heart emojis, because ultimately what happens is you don't want to put someone in a situation. I would never do this with my clients. But if you are not, let's say you're introverted and you know you're in a room full of people, I would not tell you to talk to the whole room. Okay, if you were very extroverted and I knew you were just that kind of person, I say you need to go to everybody in the room. But if you're not as extroverted and you're more introverted, take a couple of the strategies I mentioned. Just talk to a few people. Have your group list in mind. I talked to a few people. I interacted with a few people. Okay, I'm good. And then as you do more of it and you do more engaging, then you start challenging yourself and pushing yourself and say, okay, I'm going to talk to a few more people. I'm going to talk to a few more people. And then you'll get to the point where you may still be introverted, but you have found yourself making your way around all of the room and dealing with all that. All right, so let me see who else is here. We have Wrecking Beagle. Hope you are doing well today. Who else is here? Let's see. Mohammed Isaacs is talking some nonsense about cockroaches on his pants. Mohammed, friend, I'm going to tell you right now, this is not the channel for you. Okay, so Wrecking Beagle says hello. Kat gives a high five back. Wrecking Beagle says, what's your thoughts on U.S.-Iran war? Okay, if you want my thoughts, well, I would say this. I don't know all decisions that are being made in the United States. Personally, just in my very humble opinion, we've received conflicting reasons as to why we're in a war with Iran. You have Joe Kent that just resigned that said there was no imminent threat from Iran to us. So then therefore, why are we doing this? There's been, when you think about communication, this is probably, and I haven't done a video about it, but this is probably one of the scenarios where I would say this is when high stakes communication is really not successful, because it's not clear in terms of what's going on, why it's going on. The narrative has changed quite a bit, and we kind of have an understanding as to why there's a war, but it doesn't really make entirely the most sense. And I'm saying that just from my very humble opinion. I'm not being biased politically, but I'm saying as someone that has communicated at a higher level, when you think about the narrative we've received or what's been said as to why we're going to war, and no, we did this, and well, first it was this. I mean, I can tell you, I'm trying to think of what was the first reason why we went to war. The first reason, Marco Rubio, who's our Secretary of State, said that, well, Israel was going to hit Iran, and it was going to be bad for all of us, and we just decided to strike, so it wasn't going to be as bad. Okay. But then the next thing that we heard said, oh, by the way, they had nuclear weapons. Okay. We were told last year that their nuclear program had been, quote unquote, obliterated, and it wasn't there. The other thing that we've heard is that, okay, well, there's nuclear weapons, and they built their nuclear weapons back again, and they were going to hit some of our bases. The reason I mention this from my point as a public speaker and as someone that deals with high stakes communication, the story is not straight. The story is not the same story. It makes it very difficult for people to understand why. So to answer your question, what are my thoughts on it? Those are my thoughts. I do believe that this is a situation where high stakes communication is definitely not at its best. This is actually a textbook example as to how to not communicate to a large audience or to the world, because the information it's just not consistent. If it was consistent and the story was the same, then I still don't understand why we are going to war with Iran. I don't, because I'm not in that decision-making space to make those decisions. Okay, I'm a citizen here. I'm not the president of the United States. But those are my thoughts. I do think that there's opportunities to learn. And when you watch situations like this that come up, watch it. I encourage you all, because those are very emotionally charged situations. People feel some kind of way about it. They may think, oh, we should do this and we should do that. But I want you all, as a part of my audience, to start looking at these situations, not from a political basis, but look at it in terms of the way information is being communicated. That's my expertise, and that's my focus on the channel. Just look and see exactly how are things being communicated to other people. And do you think this makes sense or it doesn't make sense? Regardless of what you feel like about the situation, communication wise, is it being communicated clearly? Is it something that data has been shown to support it? And thank you for the heart emojis. Is it clear in terms of its communication? And if it's not clear, then what you want to do is write it down on a piece of paper, take a mental note, and know as a leader, these are the things that I do not want to do with my team. I do not want to communicate with my team in a way to where the messages are mixed. You do not want to communicate with your team in a way to where you are saying one thing 1 minute, and then the next minute you're saying something completely different, and then about a day later you're saying something completely different. All of these things I'm mentioning to you are ways for you not to communicate with your team. So keep that in mind. I don't mind talking about these topics, but I really do speak about it from a communication standpoint specifically, because to me, what we're being told just makes no sense. That's just in my very humble opinion. But we talked about quite a bit. Let me see who we got. Nature Lover says hello from Pakistan. Hello, friend. How you doing today? We have Khalid Lalau. I hope I said that correctly. No, I'm not going to hide you from the channel, Khalid, but we talk about a bit more serious topics here as it relates to communication and being able to speak more confidently and concisely under pressure. We have Krish Jadav, 02. You are so beautiful. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Krish. Let's see. Okay, so Jordan, you're talking about some nonsense. I'm gonna have to hide you from the channel because that doesn't make any sense what you're saying. All right, let me go back to the chat. Let's see. Hold on just a second, everyone. Okay, we have Kat. Kat said wars can also affect environments such as inflation surges and currency instability. Kat, that's the truth. That's definitely the truth for sure. We have Rouge Mud 7717. Tasha St. Patrick, hello, welcome, welcome. Wrecking Beagle says the oil prices are going up. Yeah, the oil prices are going up. They are definitely going up. Yes, I mean, it's exact. So, to my point, oil prices are going up. Was it communicated that oil prices are going to come up? Was it thought through that oil prices might go up? Apparently not. And this, as I mentioned, I'm not necessarily saying this from a political standpoint, but these are when you're in leadership roles and you're in those very high stakes situations, high pressure situations, your responsibility as a leader is to think. And your responsibility is to not only just think, but it is to critically and strategically think. When we develop policies, because many of you know I've worked with congressional leaders, I've been a part of policy discussions for a long time now. When you think about policies, policy 101, when you're dealing with bills and laws and legislation, you have to think of the intended and the unintended consequences that can happen by your policy specifically. And if you don't know what those are, then you have to have conversations with your constituents or other people to learn about them so that when you are developing these policies, it's not going to negatively impact people. Wrecking Beagle, you're right. Oil prices are going up. They are going up. And I don't know how long this will last. More than likely, it may go up even more. And that is very, 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 it's tough. It makes it very challenging for other people, for all of us around, not just the United States, but in the world, because we all are typically driving in some form of a gas combustion car, unless you have an electric vehicle like a Tesla. But it's a challenge. It's definitely a huge challenge. But as I mentioned, just keep in mind, this is the reason why you have to think about communication this way. These situations that are happening, as frustrating and catastrophic and just sad that it is, that we're at war and all these things going on, it's just too much. It's too much. And that's my candid opinion. But look at it from a communication standpoint and say, you know what? I do not want to communicate with my team this way. I want to make sure that I get as much information as I can. I'm as transparent as I possibly can be. And I'm being very strategic and thinking critically about what could happen, what could happen, what may happen that I hadn't thought of. And that's why you have to center yourself around very strategic people. And if it's something that you've worked with or struggled with making strategic decisions, then contact me for a executive strategy session. I will help you with that. We have let me say it correctly, Kagraz Khan, I believe. What's up? Hello, hope you're doing well. And Kat says, sector-specific collapses, tourism, agriculture, construction are often first hit. Defense and energy may boom. Good point. So really good point, Kat. You know, another thing that I just saw yesterday, and now I mentioned this because I was just, I think we may not see it, but I think we're going to see it. I saw a lot about here in the States, the farmers, like a lot of farmers they are really struggling right now. People even on fishing boats, they are struggling right now because all of these, think about it. You got tractors and you have boats. Tractors and boats. They are gas guzzlers. Okay. That is going to cost a lot of money to fill up those tanks. They run off of diesel. Plus, think about other industries. What about people that are truck drivers? They're transporting goods from one part of a country to another. Their gas prices have increased. And so what happens? The consumer prices has to increase also to accommodate for the gas prices that have increased. So, Kat, you mentioned some really great places to start in terms of what those collapses are and where the boom is, as you mentioned with defense and energy, probably so. But consumption, when gas prices goes up, everything goes up from there. Wrecking Beagle says communication are being changed, facts are being twisted. Wrecking Beagle, you're 100% right on that. And that's the reason why it's so important as leaders that you think that you really have to think about how you communicate with your teams. This is the reason why I'm so passionate about this, everybody. I've been in those situations, and I know as a leader, you do not want to have someone that is your leader telling you twisted facts, things that are not correct, things that have been spun a couple times. You don't know what's real, you don't know what's not real. This is why people lose trust in leadership, and I don't want you all to make those mistakes. This situation going on in the world right now with US and Iran and Israel and this war, this is, in my humble opinion, a masterclass of how you do not want to communicate to your team. You have to be transparent. You have to know what's going on. You have to plan ahead. What are the intended and what are the unintended consequences that can come up from your actions as a leader? It is a good opportunity for you to learn that. Naruto, hello, welcome, welcome. Nature lovers, welcome, welcome. And Slim JX, I believe. Hello, welcome, welcome. Stout 101, welcome, welcome. All prices will go up. Exactly, Stout. That is completely correct. Tout hold on, let me see. Tout Poor Fair Dancer. I hope I said that right. Hello, welcome, welcome. We have Bangumusa. I hope I said that correct. If I didn't, I'm sorry. Rovit. Hello, Rovit. Welcome back. Hope you're doing well. No, Rohit, I know you've been here before, but no, I'm going to give you a pass on that because I'm not talking about nonsense like that. We're talking about actually serious things right now. Cat 2030 says, man, my brain just coming up with a lot. It's like I have something to say for every topic. No, Kat, I appreciate you being here and saying everything because it's helpful. A lot of people watch the videos on replay. So this is really, I appreciate your insights and everything. Kat says also employee activism. Staff demand companies exit markets, divest, or take political stances. Yes, they do. A lot of people, when you have those hot topics or hot situations that are going on right now, your employees, I guess there's always a balance there because sometimes your employees do want you to, thank you for the heart emojis, they do want you to be able to take a stance. Why? Because it's an emotionally charged issue. It's very highly emotionally charged. And sometimes you can't, it depends on the organization and what they want to be known for and how transparent they are. Just as the Wrecking Beagle mentioned earlier. And if y'all like this content and this what we're talking about, feel free to subscribe to the channel for sure. We talk about all these type of situations and complex situations all the time. But for Wrecking Beagle specifically, ask specifically about my thoughts on that. I'm comfortable sharing with that. When you're in organizations in that corporate type of structure, sometimes they may say, oh, no, you don't want to say this. You don't want to say that. This is our stance. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for you and what you feel appropriate with in terms of communicating. Okay. All right. We have Rao Saini. I hope I said that. Hello. Welcome, welcome. Moving Bread says, your voice would suit a singer. Well, thank you, Moving Bread. Appreciate that. Raw Sani says, what's your age? I'm older, friend. You know you're not supposed to ask about ages, but I am older. Anderson TMK 858 says, hello, welcome, welcome. It's called How Old Are You? Okay, Moving Bread said that. All right, Cat 23rd. Okay, let me give you something. I'm old enough to have been around when cell phones were not around. So I'm old enough. That's older for many of you. All right, Kat says, for example, multinationals in Russia post 2022 face staff split between those supporting withdrawal and those fearing job loss. It's always challenging when it comes down to politics in those type of situations. Some people want organizations to take a stance, and some organizations say, no, we're not. We're in the middle. And some organizations say, yes, this is what I stand for. Just depends on, it comes down to the leader, Kat. It comes down to the leader. So you're right. A lot of people, they will support different sides of a particular issue. And some people will say nothing because they're worried about losing their job. But also, got to think about this too, Kat. They're worried about losing business. People don't talk about that. That's the backside, I would say, as a C-suite. And thank you for the heart emojis. You have to remember that people have business partnerships and contracts. And if they say, oh, I'm going to stand and take a public stance on this, then this other business they work with may say, oh, we're going to start doing business with you. And that takes away, we're going to take our business away from you. Well, what happens? Then let's say you have to lay some people off. So a lot of times people don't think about that. They may say, oh, no, you should stand for it. You should stand for it. But sometimes there's political dynamics that people don't really know about or think about in the back end of things. And this is the reason why you just have to, if you've been in those situations and you know what they're like, but ultimately there's a lot that goes into play. We have, this is AG777. Hello, welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well today. We have Annie Rude Sharma. I hope I said it correctly. Annie Rude Sharma, I am here talking specifically about important topics that are related to speaking while you're freezing, advanced communication skills, and high-stakes situations like we're dealing with right now. All right, we have Mike Dub. Mike Dub, I don't know why you even would say I look like a man, because I'm not, so therefore you do not need to be on this channel, friend. All right, Cat 23rd says, no disrespect, Doc, but that's pretty old. Exactly. Older. So I was around when the first cell phones came out. And you want me to tell you what the first cell phones came out? They were, some of them were car phones. If you've never heard of a car phone, my family had a car phone. They were some of the first phones coming out at the time. So yes, I am older, which is the reason why I'm here to share all this knowledge with you. All right, we have Anu Rudshama. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Says, you seem to be so energetic. Yes, this is how I am all the time. So appreciate you being here. We have Divine Madan. Hello, welcome, welcome. We have Baby Shark 1554 says, don't let anyone else ruin your day. It's your day. Ruin it yourself. Well, we don't want to ruin anybody's day, but you're right. You don't want anyone to ruin your day. Also, because it can make it very challenging. You don't want to be that person that is dictated by somebody else's emotions and how they're feeling that day. I had a situation happen many, many years ago where I had someone that made an attempt to ruin my day because they had some pressure placed on them, which is I would say a situation that happens a lot in leadership. When you are placed under pressure, you make everybody else feel that pressure. So when we're talking about wars and etc., there's obviously some pressure that's coming from somewhere else, that we all pretty much know that. But when you're communicating with your teams as a leader, even if your boss or your supervisor, or your board or your business associate or whoever it is you're working with, even if they're giving you pressure, you don't necessarily need to put that pressure onto your team. A lot of times people make a huge mistake by doing that. And that's when your team starts to get stressed out and they get a little bit worried and everything makes it very, very challenging. Okay, so we talked about several things today, and I appreciate you all so much for joining. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. If this content was helpful to you, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate my amazing subscribers being here also. Thank you so much. We talked about freezing when you're speaking. Just remember, you have to have a plan. There needs to be some plan for this conversation. So if you don't remember anything out of this live today, because we've talked for about 80 minutes now, close to it, just remember that you have to have a plan for the conversation. You have to have a plan. I know it may sound like, oh no, why do I have to plan for every discussion? you don't have to write a book about it. You don't need to write a script for it. You just need to have one thing you need to talk about. It will help to elevate you as a leader and as a communicator. Kat says, my lecturer used to say pressure makes diamonds, so he can get away with the workload he was giving us. Well, there's a balance there, right? There is a balance there. Pressure does, and some people say pressure makes diamonds, and in theory, it sounds fantastic, right? It sounds like, that's right, pressure does make diamonds, and that is true. But sometimes people will completely just, I would say, exaggerate a statement to make it even more applicable. Sometimes with your professor, etc., they're trying to help you learn information. And I guess in this case, Kat, this person was trying to make you feel better, but did it really make you feel better? Probably not, especially with the work you're doing. But sometimes people use figures of speeches and things like that to try to make the work they're giving you harder. I don't necessarily believe in that, but there is a lot. You would be surprised, because I've been on the academic side too. There's a lot that you do have to learn, and there's a lot that they have to pretty much tell you and say that they taught you for you to be successful. There's just so many things that go into it. Education wise is a whole nother world. Many times we're in the middle of it, Kat. I know you're in education right now in college, but sometimes when you're in the middle of it, it's just, I mean, you're just drowning. You feel like you're drowning, and there's so many things you're trying to learn, but they have a criteria. They have things they have to show you. They have to help you learn and do all of that. And so that's why sometimes it feels like it's just a bit much. Now, I will be live tomorrow in the morning. In the evening, I don't know if I'm going to be live or not. I have a client session last minute. So if I am live, it might be a little bit earlier in the evening. If not, I may see you all on Friday morning, but I definitely will be live tomorrow morning for sure. So let me know what questions you all have. I appreciate your dialogue so much. Let me know what you want to see out of the channel. I'm at a point where I'm very happy with the lives. I really appreciate the engagement and interacting with you all, but I do want to make sure that I'm doing things that are supporting you and providing you with as much value as possible. Is there a specific type of content you might want to start seeing again? I've been thinking about going back into my pre-recordeds, still keeping my live cadence, but doing more pre-recordeds also. I probably will do that, because sometimes with the live, we'll just talk and talk and talk, and we'll go on and on. But for people watching the replay, sometimes they have to fast forward. So I may do more pre-recordeds. I may do some interviews here pretty soon when I launch my podcast. So let me know if you want to see that. Just give me some insight when you're watching the videos. What do you want to see? And this is a poll I'm probably going to do on YouTube specifically, because the channel is growing. It's growing, and I'm really just happy to be a part of your journey. But I really want to impact your journey significantly, and I want to do what the content that's going to actually help you, that you want to learn a little bit more about, because I'm here to help you just as you all are helping me. So let me know on any video. If you're watching the video, feel free to put it in the comment section. You're welcome to contact me on any platform: Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. I don't really use Facebook that much, but I'm mostly on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. Those are the main ones I use, but just let me know. Kat says, self-leadership, can we work on that topic? Sure. So when you say self-leadership, tell me specifically what you're thinking about, because there's a lot of things that can go into self-leadership. One aspect of it is that I think about when I hear self-leadership, and I want to make sure I talk about it specifically in terms of what you're looking for, Kat, is a self-advocacy. So that's something that comes up sometimes with self-leadership. And another thing that comes up with self-leadership is guiding yourself, meaning developing a plan as to how you're going to develop yourself as a leader. Maybe advancing in your career. How exactly are you going to advance in your career as a leader? So let me know, Kat, specifically self-leadership, what you'd like to focus in on, and we can definitely plan for a live for that. If it's not anything specific that you have that you want to learn more about as it relates to self-leadership, then I'll just go over a couple of things, such as planning for your career, advocating for yourself as a leader, and then anything else that comes to mind as it relates to self-leadership, because there's just so much that goes into it. when you think about leading yourself, there's a lot of things you have to kind of think and strategize about. So just let me know what your thoughts are, or if you want me just to do just a very general topic specifically about that topic as a whole. Now, while Kat's coming up with that, I do want to mention to you all, if for many of you that are working with different projects and organizations and etc., if you need any support, feel free to let me know. Let me see what Kat says. Kat said the internal architecture. So meaning, so for it, and just overall, how you start developing self-leadership. That's what I'm gathering from you. So what I'm going to do is let me take a screenshot of that. And let's see. Kat says common self-leadership failures and how to fix them. Okay, that's very specific, and that I can definitely talk about. Okay, so we'll talk a bit more about common self-leadership failures and how to fix them. That may be something that we do on a Friday, probably on a Friday evening if I do it as a live, because that's when I have more time to go over it, because there are some common things people do as leaders when they're trying to help lead themselves that they make mistakes on. I'll share with you some common mistakes I've seen people make and failures I've seen people make, and I'll share with you some mistakes that I made as I was developing myself as a leader. So let's plan for that on a Friday afternoon. I may do that this Friday afternoon, Kat, actually. All right, Umar Tarian says hello. Joseph James 5209, hello. Umar Tarian says, I'm new in this stream. Well, hello and welcome. So this channel specifically, thank you for the heart emojis. This channel specifically focuses on advanced communication skills and strategies. If you've ever been in a situation where you have frozen when you're speaking, or maybe you've been interrupted by someone and you didn't know what to say or how to say it or when to say it, and you've always wished that you could communicate in challenging situations and advocate for yourself, this is by far the best channel for you on YouTube. There's no other channels out here that are going into the level of detail that we go into, that provide you with some really strategic insights to help you be able to communicate more confidently and concisely under pressure. I'm here to support you all on your journey as best I can. And feel free to subscribe if you like this content so far, or if you like the topics that we're talking about. Okay, so Umar, am I saying it correctly? I want to say Umar. I hope I'm saying it right. Where are you from? I'm from the U.S. I am based out of the Sunshine State of Florida. Umar, where are you from? Kat says, appreciate the live session. I'll go to sleep with some new knowledge. Oh, well, thank you, Kat. Well, I'm glad that you're here. And I appreciate you sharing some really great insights today, too, especially as it relates to people freezing when they're speaking. It's a lot of people watch the lives. I see the replays. I see the views, and you would be surprised how much people watch our replays. So that's some really great information. I appreciate the heart emojis. Umar Tarin says, I'm from Pakistan. Okay, fantastic. Well, welcome. Good to see you. I go live here relatively consistently. Typically, it's Tuesdays, morning and evening, Wednesday evening, Thursday morning and evening, and Friday evening. But just remember, tomorrow night, I may not be live because I have a client session. So I'm here to support you any way that I can. If you have any other topics you want to learn more about, let me know. I appreciate you all being here and being a part of the journey. And I will see you all in the next video. And let me see, one more thing. Okay, wait, there's 2 more questions. Okay, hold on. Why to Bruise? I feel like you've been on the channel before. So I want to say hello, welcome back. Can you share your best experience in your life? Sure, I will. I will share you my best experience. I'll share it with you really quickly. Kat says, hit the subscribe button 100. Well, thank you, Kat. I appreciate that. And feel free to share it with your colleagues that are trying to really communicate at that higher level than their peers. This is where you come to actually stand out from everybody else, because you can communicate better. Best experience of my life. I can say I'll stick with professionally. The best experience I actually had in my life is, well, there's so many, but I'll say there's one that kind of stood out more than the others. There was a externship that I applied for as a dental school student, and it was a highly competitive externship. It was called the Washington National Health Policy Externship, and it was with the American Dental Association. And when I was in dental school, I was president of my class. Thank you for the heart emoji. So I've just always been doing the most. I've always been in politics as it relates to school, student government, leadership. One day I'll share with you how I got started in high school. It'll be an interesting story. But this externship, I saw it, it said competitive, but to be quite honest with you, I didn't know how competitive it was. I think if I knew how competitive it was, I would have probably not, I probably would not have applied for it if I would have known what I know now. So I looked at the externship and I applied for it. It seemed like it was related to health policy. I lived in DC at the time because I went to Howard University, College of Dentistry. And I said, well, I'll just apply for it. Let me do my best. I applied for the externship and I was accepted. Now I thought, oh, wow, great. Well, I was accepted. That's wonderful. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of people. No, they picked 2 people out of the entire United States in all the dental schools in the United States that could have applied for it. And if they applied, they were accepted. No, they only picked 2 people in the entire country to be externs with the American Dental Association in their Washington National Health Policy externship program. Why was this a big deal? One, if I would have known I was competing between 1 and 2 people in the country at that time in my life, I would not have applied for it. There's no way. I would have said, there's no way I'm going to get that. But I did. And why was this one of the best experiences of my life? Because I started to learn how the world works, especially as it relates to policies and etc., and how policies are actually made. I spent a lot of time with congressional leaders at that time. I spent time with the Senate Majority Leader at the time, which was Harry Reid. He's passed away since then, but I spent time with him. I actually got to meet some actress from a soap opera. I don't know if they even call it that anymore, but I spent some time with her. I spent some time with some people from Puerto Rico, and I got to interact with so many congressional leaders, and I was able to see how do people really communicate at that higher level than their peers, and how do they conduct themselves? How are laws made? What is the review process? How do you read legislation? I just learned a lot, and I would not have learned any of that information by being a dental school student. And that is one of the, I would say, the best experiences of my life, because I had the opportunity to learn from people that were much higher than where I was. And then I learned a lot that normal people don't know about in terms of how policies are made, the politics that happen specifically, and how you really learn how to communicate and how you start to stand out as an individual. So that's one of my best experiences. I learned a lot, so much more. I could definitely talk more about that. But that was really one of the best professional experiences I've had. That experience itself, my dean of my college, Dr. Leo Rouse, which is an amazing superstar, the best leader that I know of, he mentioned it to some individuals, and they ended up putting me on the cover of Howard University's magazine with 2 other individuals for exceptional things that they had done at the college. So it helped me in so many ways, because I gained that credibility and was able to tell my story. And the fact that I was one of 2 people that were selected in the entire United States in the dental schools to be a part of this amazing externship was huge. It was one of the best experiences I've had professionally in my life. We have Nak Cheetah. Okay, I'm going to continue and keep going. No Filter Boss says no Filter Boss 513. Hello, how you doing today? Welcome. Says you seem well educated. You seem like a well put together woman. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I am a doctor. So YT Bruce says hello. No Filter Boss says, are you a perfectionist? No, I'm definitely not a perfectionist. Nothing is perfect. But when it comes to speaking, I probably go a little bit more into it. And that's what I do with my clients to help them do well also. All right, we have Chiga. So let's see. I'm going to keep going. Cat 23rd says, wow, magazine cover. What's next, boss of the year? Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's a really great experience. It's really great. I have the cover. I'll have to put it on I have it on my website at exciteexcellence.org. I believe it's on About Me. YT Bros says, thank you for sharing. Absolutely. So in any situation, let me know. I know I have to wrap up here because I can hear my kids in the background. You probably can hear them in the background too. But I'm really looking forward to learning more about you all. Let me know in the comments of this video, what was your best experiences? I think YT Bros, that's a really great question that you asked. What were some of your best professional experiences that you have had as leaders? I would like to know them also. So feel free to put them in the comments. I will be live tomorrow morning, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now.